Some heroes don't wear capes, they write letters. When Ryan Reynolds walked onto the Tonight Show stage with his trademark smirk and that razor sharp wit that had made him Hollywood's most beloved smartass, nobody expected him to reveal the most vulnerable secret of his career. Jimmy Fallon had planned a standard promotional interview for Ryan's latest Deadpool film. The audience was ready for the sarcastic one-liners and self-deprecating humor that always came with a Ryan Reynolds appearance. But what Ryan was about to confess would silence Studio 6B and prove that sometimes the most healing words come from the mouth of a fictional mercenary. The cameras were rolling, the audience was already grinning in anticipation, and then Ryan spoke 11 words that changed everything. Deadpool writes letters to kids with cancer because I can't. What came next wasn't just television. It was a revelation about pain, hope, and the unexpected responsibility that comes with playing a character who understands suffering in ways that most superheroes never could. Ryan Reynolds had always been known for his quick wit and emotional armor, the ability to deflect any serious moment with a perfectly timed joke, to turn vulnerability into comedy before anyone could see the real person underneath. But what audiences didn't know was that Ryan's connection to his most famous character ran deeper than performance. Deadpool wasn't just a role for Ryan, he was a vehicle for connecting with people who understood what it meant to live with scars, both visible and invisible. The letter writing had begun 5 years earlier, shortly after the first Deadpool film's massive success, when Ryan received a piece of fan mail that would change his understanding of what it meant to play a superhero. The letter had come from 12-year-old Marcus Chen, a kid undergoing treatment for bone cancer at St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Dear Deadpool, the letter had read in careful 12-year-old handwriting, I know you're not real, but I wanted to tell you that you're my favorite superhero because you have scars like me. The other superheroes are too perfect, and it makes me feel bad about how I look after chemo. But you look messed up too, and you're still awesome. Can you write back? My real name is Marcus, but you can call me Kid Pool if you want. Ryan had been deeply affected by the letter. Here was a child dealing with cancer, connecting with Deadpool, not despite the character's disfigurement, but because of it. The responsibility of that connection had overwhelmed him, but more than that, it had awakened something in him that went beyond his usual defensive humor. I realized that Deadpool means something different to kids who are fighting their own battles, Ryan later explained. For most people, he's a funny anti-hero who breaks the fourth wall. But for kids dealing with illness, surgery scars, and medical trauma, he's proof that you can be messed up on the outside and still be a hero. Ryan's first response had been to write back as Deadpool. Not Ryan Reynolds the actor, but Wade Wilson the character. He had spent hours crafting a letter that captured Deadpool's voice while addressing Marcus's specific struggles with cancer treatment, body image, and the fear of being different. Hey, Kid Pool, Ryan had written in Deadpool's irreverent style. First off, awesome superhero name, way cooler than Deadpool, which, let's be honest, sounds like I clean swimming pools for a living. Second, you're absolutely right that most superheroes are ridiculously good looking. It's frankly insulting to those of us who look like we were assembled from spare parts. But here's the thing about scars, kid. They're not proof that you're broken. They're proof that you survived something that tried to break you. The letter had continued for 3 pages, mixing Deadpool's trademark humor with genuine encouragement about Marcus's treatment, his appearance, and his courage in fighting cancer. Ryan had included sketches of Deadpool in various ridiculous situations, always emphasizing that being different was what made the character special. Marcus's mother had written back to say that the letter had become her son's most treasured possession, that he carried it to every treatment appointment and had memorized every word. More importantly, Marcus had started referring to his chemo scars as battle wounds and his medical team as his superhero support crew. That transformation had inspired Ryan to expand his letter writing to other children dealing with cancer and medical challenges. Working with hospitals and child life specialists, Ryan began receiving requests from families whose children connected with Deadpool's message that scars and differences could be sources of strength rather than shame. Over 5 years, Ryan's secret letter writing had reached 78 children with cancer, each receiving multiple letters throughout their treatment journey. Some children received letters before major surgeries to calm their fears, others got encouragement during difficult chemotherapy cycles, and a few received final letters when their families knew they were dying. I wrote to a little girl named Sophie who had lost her leg to bone cancer, Ryan remembered. Deadpool told her about all the cool prosthetic weapons he could design for her and how having one super strong robot leg would make her faster than any normal-legged person. By the end of the letter, Sophie was excited about her prosthetic instead of embarrassed by it. The letters weren't just about cancer. They addressed the full range of challenges that seriously ill children face. Ryan wrote about dealing with hospital anxiety, missing school and friends, feeling different from healthy kids, and maintaining hope when treatment wasn't working. Always, the message was that Deadpool understood what it meant to be marked by trauma and that those marks were actually signs of heroic survival. These kids changed how I think about everything, Ryan reflected. They're facing death at 10 years old, and they're still finding reasons to laugh, still believing in tomorrow, still worried about being good people. If they can maintain that kind of hope, then I can find the courage to be honest about my own struggles. Yeah. Tonight's appearance on The Tonight Show was supposed to be standard promotional fare for Ryan's latest Deadpool film, which dealt with themes of resilience and finding humor in dark situations. Jimmy had planned to ask about the movie's stunts, maybe engage in some playful banter about the character's popularity, definitely tap into Ryan's quick wit that made him such an entertaining guest. The interview had started exactly as expected. Ryan had walked out to enthusiastic applause, immediately launching into a self-deprecating joke about his appearance that had the audience laughing within seconds. Jimmy had asked about the new film's production, about working with the cast, about the character's evolution from the previous movies. But when Jimmy mentioned the fan letters that Deadpool must receive and joked about Ryan having to respond to requests for relationship advice from a disfigured anti-hero, something shifted in Ryan's expression. "You know, Jimmy," Ryan said, his trademark smirk fading slightly, "Deadpool does get some pretty intense fan mail, but it's not what you might expect." The audience sensed something different in Ryan's tone, their anticipatory laughter quieting as they waited for what was clearly going to be a more serious moment than usual. "What kind of letters?" Jimmy asked, genuinely curious. Ryan was quiet for a moment, his usual rapid-fire wit replaced by careful consideration. "Letters from kids who are fighting cancer, kids who connect with Deadpool because he understands what it's like to have scars, to look different, to have your body changed by something you didn't choose." The studio grew completely silent, the energy shifting from entertainment to something much more profound. "And I realized that I couldn't just ignore those letters," Ryan continued, his voice taking on an unexpected vulnerability, because these kids weren't writing to Ryan Reynolds. They were writing to someone who they thought might understand their pain. Jimmy leaned forward, clearly moved by Ryan's openness. "Ryan, what did you do?" Ryan's eyes filled with tears, a sight that shocked the audience, who had never seen this vulnerable side of the usually unflappable comedian. "I started writing back, not as Ryan Reynolds, but as Deadpool, because sometimes a kid needs to hear from a superhero who knows what it's like to be messed up on the outside." The audience was completely silent now, witnessing a side of Ryan Reynolds they had never imagined. Not the sarcastic movie star, but a man who had discovered that his most famous character could be a source of real healing for children facing unimaginable challenges. "Jimmy, can I tell you about something I've been doing for the past 5 years?" Ryan asked, his voice growing stronger despite his tears. "Something that's become the most important work I've ever done." "Please," Jimmy replied, sensing that something significant was about to be revealed. Ryan took a deep breath and looked directly into the camera. "I write letters to kids with cancer, as Deadpool, 78 kids over 5 years, helping them understand that having scars doesn't make you broken, it makes you a survivor. The studio fell completely silent. Jimmy's expression changed from curious to deeply moved as he began to understand what Ryan was describing. "You write as Deadpool to children with cancer?" Jimmy asked softly. "I write as Deadpool because these kids need to hear from someone who understands what it's like to have your body betray you," Ryan replied. "Deadpool's whole thing is that he looks terrible, but he's still awesome. For kids dealing with hair loss, surgical scars, and feeling different, that's not just entertainment, that's hope." Jimmy felt tears forming in his eyes. "Ryan, can you tell us about one of these children?" "Marcus was my first," Ryan said with a sad smile. 12 years old, bone cancer, wrote to tell me that Deadpool was his favorite superhero because you have scars like me. That letter broke my heart and changed everything." Ryan's voice grew tender as he continued. "I wrote back telling Marcus that scars aren't proof you're broken. They're proof you survived something that tried to break you. I told him that surviving makes you tougher than any guy in a cape." The audience was visibly emotional, many people wiping their eyes as they witnessed Ryan's unexpected vulnerability. "What happened to Marcus?" Jimmy asked through his tears. "Marcus is 17 now and cancer-free," Ryan said, his face lighting up. "He still has Deadpool's letters. His mom sends me updates, and he's planning to study medicine because he wants to help other kids the way Deadpool helped him." Jimmy was openly crying. "Ryan, you've been carrying this for 5 years?" "These kids have been carrying me for 5 years," Ryan replied. "They taught me that real courage isn't about cracking jokes to avoid feelings. It's about facing the scary stuff and choosing hope anyway." As the segment concluded, something unprecedented happened. The entire studio audience rose in sustained applause that lasted over 3 minutes, recognizing that they had witnessed something that transcended entertainment, a revelation about the healing power of storytelling and the unexpected ways that fictional characters could provide real comfort. Ryan's disclosure about his cancer correspondence became one of the most shared Tonight Show segments in the program's history, inspiring other actors to use their characters for therapeutic purposes and highlighting the profound impact that popular culture could have on children facing medical challenges. Most importantly, Ryan's revelation had shown that sometimes the most powerful thing about playing a superhero wasn't the stunts or the box office success. It was the opportunity to remind real people, especially children, that their scars were evidence of their strength, not their weakness.